Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Ashley's Treasure, and today I am going to be making a quick simple journal out of the Tale of Peter Rabbit. This was the book that I showed in my last haul, and I showed a little quick how to get pen off of the cover. The cover is 7¼ by 5¼ so the pages are 7 by 5, which is going to make it quite easy. So I first, of course, need to take the pages out. So I get my X-Acto knife and easily, don't push too hard because I want to use the whole cover. I don't want to cut the spine off. So very carefully, just cut the pages out. And as you can see, there was a lot of pen work inside of this book. Someone was very creative. I had no idea that it was drawn in that bad, because I think there was 2 of these and I ended up just grabbing it because it was only 1/4. But this is how thick I'm going to make it. I'm just going to squish the spine down, and so it's going to be 1/2 inch thick, which is going to be, so it's going to be a quick, simple, not too thick of a journal. And since I'm going to be squishing the spine down like that, I'm going to have to make the pages smaller. So instead of 7 by 5, it'll be 7 by 4¾ But here I'm going to go through all the pages and tear out the ones with pictures. And actually, there was a lot of pages missing in this book, which I did not know. So I was really bummed out about that. But there were still enough pictures in here. Although a lot of them were drawn on. Like they outlined it with the pen, like that page right there. But yes, I just kept on tearing out all the pages with pictures, because one side or the other, most of them I could still use. You might hear some noise in the background. That sounds like a waterfall. That would be my fish tank. Sorry if that irritates you. And then also I have my little baby girl with me. She's in my arms right now, so you might hear her making noises. She's sleeping right now though. But yes, I got all the pictures out that I could use, and then I sorted them out from ones that has one picture that I could use and ones that were double-sided that had pictures in the front and back that weren't drawn on that I could use. There ended up being 4 of them that had a picture in the front and back, which was perfect because I end up connecting them together. So I had 2 of them. See there, you can see how they outline with the pen on that one. But I'm going to be using them as a page, so I'm going to do 2 signatures. But here I have to make the pages a little bit smaller because originally they're 5 by 7, so I have to make it 1/4 inch shorter. So that's why it's going to be 7 by 4¾ instead of 5 inches. So right there is how short I'm going to cut the pages down to. And here are the 4 pages, and I'm figuring out which one are best together because I am going to use my washi tape and connect them together to use as one page. And I kind of did it as the story of the book. Try to do them in order. And so those 2 are going to go together, and these 2 are going to be put together. And so I have to trim them down. I have to cut 1/4 inch off from them. And I cut them together, make sure they were the exact same. And then the hard part was deciding which washi tape to use. I have these 2 that I really like. They have leaf, and it's kind of like a watercolor look. And I use it quite often. I thought about this one because they had birds on it, but they have birds and flowers, but the birds has crowns on them, which didn't go with it. And then there was that Tim Holtz one that I really like, but it looked too distressed. But these leaves are quite, it looked like it went quite well with it. And the white is pretty much clear, like transparent once you apply it, especially on the white paper, so all you see really is the leaves. And so I was deciding which one to use, and I think I end up going with this one, the one that's in my hand, which will use, yeah, this one right here. The reason why I'm doing a voiceover is because I did this late at night and everyone was asleep, so I was afraid of talking that I'd wake everyone up, so I am doing a voiceover. But I just line the pages up and kind of measure to see how long I need it, and I was debating which side I should tape it, the front or the back, which didn't really matter. But this is the glue that I use, my stick glue. It's extra strength and it is permanent from, was it the Craft Bond? And so yes, I just put glue all along the washi tape because washi tape is not permanent. It is temporary, so that's why you gotta put glue on it to make it permanent. But just using washi tape to tape them together does work. And I've seen multiple other people do it as well. And then I just cut off the excess. It's an easy way to add pages together if you need to add them into your signatures, into your book, your journal. And then I was debating back and forth, because at first I was just going to do one side, and then I ended up changing my mind and doing both sides, the inner and outer part. So again, I'm doing the same thing, rubbing the glue across the washi tape to make sure it's extra sticky and will not come off and stay there permanently. And again, just cut off the excess on both ends. And then I just press really good to make sure there's no bubbles and make sure it's stuck on well. And then fold it where the crease is going to be. And voila, it's perfect. And then I will do the same thing on the other two. Line them up just right, get enough washi tape, rub them against the glue, and adhere them onto the page. I don't do it perfectly centered, but when our junk journal's 100% perfect, that's the whole fun about it. It's just having fun. And that's what I needed. I haven't done any art stuff in so long, it feels like, because of being sick constantly and just having a baby. Like, I haven't been able to get my hands on anything, and so this felt so good, getting my hands on artsy stuff. I needed it bad. And then here, the washi tape, it just tore off on me. I was so mad. I couldn't believe it. But I was trying to find a place to put it so I wouldn't waste it, because I love that washi tape. But again, the next time it didn't tear on me, luckily. But again, just press it really good to make sure it's sticking well and will not come off. And again, just folding it. And I think, was it this one? Yeah, this one I end up ending it backwards. Because I was trying to do it in, like, the pages in number order as the book. So I accidentally folded that one the wrong way. Right now I got my 2 signatures. So I went and found some pages. I found this page from a old atlas, World Atlas book, and this was the first page I turned to when I opened it, and I quite liked it. It could have been black and white like that, and you could see how aged the pages are. So I'm making the page because the pages are 7 inches high and then 4 3/4, so I need them 9.5, so 9.5 by 7. And I want to make sure that I had that map, and that map is actually of Paris, which I should have tried looking to see if they had one like this of like London or something, but that was the first page I looked at, and I was making it simple. I wasn't trying to plan a theme exactly. I was just having fun and, just not stressing myself out. I was just going with the first thing I come up with. I wasn't making it challenging. I was just trying to make everything simple. And I really liked this page, so I went for it. And I was trying to get all the borders off so it all looked the same. So yeah, 9.5. For some reason it didn't look quite right, and I found out one side was a little crooked, so I fixed that. And then I found another page in the atlas because I wanted 2 of everything. I was trying to have each signature have the same amount of pages, same things going on. So this was another page instead of a map. It has some of the states in the US, and it says the population of all the towns in there. And then I found the scrapbook paper, which had these pretty flowers on it and some bows on it, which is actually a little bit of gold foil on it, but it wasn't like too much. And I made sure that I had it folded the correct way, having the flowers facing up. And then this paper as well, I found in the same collection as the flowers to match it. I really like that watercolor green stripes. And then I found some tracing paper. I got 2 pieces, one to go with each signature. And then I had some dyed printer paper that I had. I remember this one was kind of like a mess up. It didn't turn out right. I was using, because I ran out of coffee, so I was using some distressed spray ink, and I ended up getting some purple out of it, yellow and purple. So I didn't mind having that in this journal, because the original one I was using it for was my snail garden journal, and I wasn't having purple in it, so that's why I didn't use these. So I already had these set aside for another journal, and it worked out perfect. I got a couple sheets of this grid paper, so I got 2 of those to go with each signature. I got some line paper with green lines, and I found this little journaling paper. Sadly, like, those weren't sewn in to the book, so those ones are going to have to be folded. But yeah, this is my line paper with green lines. I wish I got more of that. I really like that old paper. And then after that, I think I found enough pages, and I found these cute little cards too that I thought would go with it too. But yes, I'm just folding all the pages in half and making it even for each signature. So I put 2 of those on both sides. I cut 4 of the dyed paper, so I did 2 in both sides, and this is the grid. So I only did 2 sheets of that, so 1 on each side. I didn't think you wanted me to do all of them, but found out that the pages from the Atlas book were a little, because of how old they are, it was starting to crack a little. So again, I did the washi tape again, and this time I used the Tim Holtz washi tape. It's kind of like a wallpaper look, and it's got like these kind of like a golden flower on it. It's very pretty, and I thought it went well with that aged paper. And with this one, I only did one side instead of both sides like I did with the original pictures from the book. And so I did the same thing with the map, and I was going to use the same one again, but I didn't quite like it. on the map. So I found a different one that was in the same collection, and I think it looked better. And again, running it across the glue stick to make sure it sticks on permanently. And cut off the excess. Which pages should go where, trying to make it kind of even, like how like one is plain, one has a picture. I didn't want so much, picture in picture. I wanted room to journal. I didn't want the same thing going twice. And I liked how that turned out, so I did the same exact thing with the second signature so that they would be the same and make it simple and easy. So I started off with the scrapbook paper, the page from the atlas, I think that was the grid paper, and then that from a little notebook that I had, and then the plain dyed paper, the line paper, the tracing paper, the page from the book, the printer paper again, and then, a little notebook in the center, because being smaller. And I think I end up adding a couple more pages from a couple different books, but overall, that's about how thick it's going to be, and making sure it's thick enough pages. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want it to be like put too many pages where it has the crocodile like look to it. So yeah, it all worked out. Now I am going to start tearing off the pages off the cover, because they are they have a lot of drawing on them, and instead of covering it up, I wanted to take it off so it doesn't add too much dimension. The first one started tearing apart, but luckily I was able to get it all off as one piece, but it came off pretty easy. It wasn't too bad. And so I'm just checking again to make sure it's going to be 1/2 inch thick. So since it's going to be thicker, I'm going to need to make a thicker spine, because the original piece of cardboard in there is too thin. So I found some scrap of chipboard, and I'm going to make it 7 by 1/2 inch. And so I am lifting up the, it's kind of like a bluish color that is the cover, and I'm just lifting up that little part. I don't want to tear it off. I'm just doing that to get the chipboard underneath it and lined up, just like the rest of the cover. And it fits perfect, but I was hoping to be able to keep it in, but it was wobbly because the original piece that was in there, it didn't lay flat, so I had to tear that out. Which made it super thin, because that blue, like it's kind of like a plasticky color, is very thin and delicate to this book. And then I started gluing. I used the Fabri-Tac glue and made sure there's enough on there to stick well. And fit it in there just right, and pressed really good to make sure it was stuck well and flat as I could get it. And then add some of the glue underneath that part as well to make sure it's stuck on really good and won't come off. Although I found out that if I put too much underneath it, I don't know if you could see on the top how you can kind of see through it, like it got dark, like you could almost see the chipboard underneath it, which I thought was weird. I never had that happen. It's something to do with that type of paper, and it has that clear plastic over it. It's something to do with that material. But that's okay because it will be covered anyways. I kept putting a lot of pressure on it to make sure it'll stick, and so I put these clips on there to make sure it'll stick well and not come off. Next, I was trying to figure out what pages I should use on the inside, and I really like this green striped paper, but since then I remembered the second signature, I have green stripes, so it looked kind of weird. So my camera cut off on me. I didn't realize it, but I ended up using this paper, which is from the Paper Studio. It's the Bunny Floral, and from Hobby Lobby, and I really liked it because, you know, it's Beatrix Potter, and it had some of the same colors, like the green and pink. Oh, that's okay, sweetie. But I really like how it turned out. It looked really good, and it went with the scrapbook paper that I was using for the signatures, like those flowers, and the green lined paper as well. And so I'm just lining it up right to see how it's going to look. You're okay, sweetie. And I really liked both sides, the front and the back. And I found this fabric, it's a pillowcase. Ended up being a bigger one than I thought, and it came with this tag, which I thought was really nice too. I'm going to use later on. But I needed some thick cardstock. This is the 120 pound, which is just a scrap piece that I had. It needed to be 1/2 inch thick by 7 again, because that I'm going to be sewing the pages on, because I'm going to do a hidden spine. You're not going to see the sewing in the back. You're okay, sweetie. And so I cut off some fabric, and I saw this pink flower that I really liked, and I ended up cutting it too short, so I'm going back, and the next thing next to it was this purple flower, so I'm going to cut that out. Granted, you're not going to be seeing a lot of it because the pages are going to be sewn onto it, but the fabric is going to be covering it. Alright, and so I used my Tim Holtz ruler. It's really convenient because it shows the center of it, which is right there. And I was going to do three holes to sew them in, just a simple sewing. And there's going to be 2 of them, so I'm measuring on both sides the center of it, and you don't want the top and bottom hole to be at the close to the end. You want some room so it won't tear or come apart, and so that all your pages will stay in. Alright, so I did a line on both sides to figure out. It was 1/2 inch, so I ended up making it was it like an 1/8 of an inch in on both sides. Being an even number kind of made it hard to have it centered exactly, because there's going to be more gap in the middle than there is on the sides, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I just did it simple and followed the ruler and marked where I'm going to make the holes at each 3 spots. And so I got this little tool out to make the holes, and there are holes on the ruler, and so I use that to make my holes, because I end up doing the cardstock on top and then making the holes because it's so thin. It was very easy to bend, still being like 120 pound cardstock, you know, being only 1/2 inch thick. It was kind of delicate, so I had to be careful. But yes, I was simply able to make the holes without bending it. And so I'm just making sure there's more than enough room. And then I was getting ready to glue it, and that's when I realized I forgot to make like a little template so that I can know where to place the holes in the signatures. So I just got a scrap piece of paper. I think this was like a scrap piece of printer paper. Nothing fancy, but I folded it in half so I can mark where the holes are going to be. So I'm lining it up just right and going to mark it with a pencil. And so again, my phone cut off and didn't realize it, but all I did was glue it onto the fabric, so you didn't really miss anything. But I'm getting the signatures out, the pages out, and going to start poking the holes where I'm going to sew them together. But I'm going through the page to make sure everything's facing the correct way and they're centered where I want them to. Here I end up getting a couple more pages. I end up getting 2 pages, one for each signature, out of my Better Homes and Garden book. I think it's from the volume 2. And I got 2 pages out of the vegetable section because there's like carrots and cabbage, like stuff that rabbits would eat. So I thought that was cute. Oh, and somebody woke up. You can see my little one's hands. She woke up then. And of course wanted to join in. She's so cute. Those little fingers. But yes, just lining them up. And I end up doing them as centered as I could, which don't have to be. You can always have them, all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, in the center, a little bit up, a little bit down. It really doesn't matter. But this time I kind of wanted to have them somewhat centered. And then I also added a couple more pages, one for each signature of it's an encyclopedia book of all plants, like flowers, that I put in them as well. Because it seemed like it needed just a couple more pages. And I thought that would go well with it. And I don't have any paper clips that are long enough because the page in the center was smaller, as you can see, so it was kind of hard to hold it. So I tried using these clips to hold the pages in, and my little one is helping me again. She wants to be involved. Those cute little fingers. So yes, I'm like she's in my lap and I'm trying to hold her and do this at the same time. Just trying to multitask. Alright, and I was able to set her down and going to start making holes where they're going to be. Oh, nope, she's still there. There we go. Now I set her down. And then I realized that that page that's in the center, how it's smaller, that the 3 holes, it's only going to have a hole in the center, which isn't going to hold it so well. So I end up going in and making 5 holes instead of 3. And this is the next day. I was walking my son home from school and we found this pretty flower. We were trying to figure out which bird it was from. We think it might be from a blue jay. Here she is laughing. I don't know if you heard that. She was laughing in her sleep. But yes, so instead of 3 holes, there's going to be 5 now. So that way it will hold the pages better. And then that page in the center won't wobble all over the place with only having 1 hole when it's tied down. And so I have to also mark it down on this as well. And I'm doing it right in the middle, from the center to where I have the top and bottom holes located. Which I think I end up being like 1.25 inches from the center. Yep. It looks like I did it from did it in the center, 1.25 inches out, and then 2.5. At first I was marking it at the edge of the paper, and I'm like, why am I doing that? I need to do it where the line is where the holes are going to be. So I fixed that and started to pierce the holes in it, and tried to do it with the ruler again so that the chipboard won't bend. But it was kind of hard because this time I had it glued to the fabric, so it was hard to see where the hole was in the ruler to pierce it through. So I'm just going back through and making sure that they're all through, and so that you can see it through the fabric as well, because this is going to be in the back, and that's why it's glued onto the back of the fabric. And so here I'm going through again, making sure that I can see it, so when I put the needle through I can see where the hole is. Right, now I'm going to start poking all the holes through the pages. Then I started to remove the clips, which I don't know what I was thinking at the time, and I caught myself because I wanted to keep them on there so that the pages stay lined up, because you don't want the pages to move, because that's where you're going to put the holes. You don't want them all over the place. You want them to stay in place. So luckily I caught myself and left the one on the bottom in. And then now I'm going to start the second signature and making sure all the pages are facing the correct way and lined up the way that I want them to be. And now I'm going to start piercing the holes into the second signature, all 5 of them. And carefully without stabbing my fingers. Alright, next I found some thread that I'm going to use. It's for tatting I got at a thrift store, and it's white, but it's kind of like an off-white. It's got some aging to it, and it is quite strong, as you can see. So I'm going to use that. I already cut 2 pieces out, which I actually ended up making it longer than I need to, because normally you want it to be 3 times as long as the pages are going to be, and for some reason I did 4, because I was going to make it longer because I was thinking about doing dangles, which I am, but I'm not. You'll see later. So this is the needle I'm going to use. Doesn't have a sharp tip. It's for like doing embroidery and stuff like that. So it's not one that I didn't want it to be sharp, because I didn't want it to line up in the holes I already have. I don't want it to make extra holes. So how I do this is I start from the center, and don't forget to, because it's going to be a hidden spine, because at first I actually did the pages just by himself, and I forgot to attach them to the spine, the fabric. So this is actually my second time doing this one. But yes, I start from the center, from the inside out. And don't pull it out all the way, still leave some room. And then go to the next one down, which will be the fourth hole. I'm going through the fabric and then the pages. And kind of wiggle around to make sure that I get through all of them. And silly me, I pulled too hard. Look at that. So now I gotta start all over again. I don't know how many times I've done this. That's why you don't pull it all the way. But again, start from the center, from the inside out. And then go down to the fourth hole from the outside in. And then the bottom hole, which will be the fifth hole, from the inside out. And don't pull the string all the way through. Leave some hanging in the center from the inside. Alright, now I am going to go up one from the bottom hole, the fifth hole, up to the fourth, from the outside in. And now you want to skip the center and go up to the second hole. I kind of had a hard time getting through because that page kept moving on me, but I really wanted those smaller pages in the center, which, because of me not having a long enough paper clip to hold them in place, they kept moving on me, so I kept having the hardest time, but I really wanted them in the center. Oh, okay, and then once that goes through, I go up to the top hole from the back and pierce it to the inside. So I'm going from the outside of the top hole to the inside. Making sure everything's lined up, and then I'm going to go from down to the second hole from the inside out. And now to the third hole, the center, from the outside in this time. But as you put the needle through, make sure that it is not going through the thread. You don't want to do that. You want it to be on one side. So I have this other side end of the string on the left side, so I'm going to make sure that when I pull the needle through that it goes onto the right side, so that you can tie the string in the center together to keep it all together. Alright, so now I'm going to do a crisp, make sure it's all nice and snug. You don't want to do it too tight that it will tear the pages, but you want it snug enough so that the pages won't slide everywhere. And doing a couple crisscrosses. 3 for good measures. Though 2 is just fine. And then cutting off some excess. Alright, now I can remove the paper clips because it's all sewn in. I forgot to mention, I like to, when I'm doing signatures, I like to do the last one and move it up to the first one. It's easier for me. That way, you know, I'm not trying to sew pages underneath signatures that are already sewn in, so I just keep layering them on top. That's something I like to do, and I think a lot of other people like to do it that way too. And now I'm getting the second thread through, getting ready to do the other signature. And again, I'm starting from the center, which is the third hole. Oh, this time I was going back through the holes again and making them a little bit looser because it was a little hard with the last one that I did. So I was trying to make it a little bit easier. So I'm just kind of piercing through those holes again and kind of wobbling around to make them a little bit bigger, so the needle will go through easier. Alright, now I'm going to start from the center out, from the inside out. And again, leave enough string hanging out. Don't pull it all the way through, or you'll have to do it all over again like I did the last time. And don't forget to go through the fabric, because I forgot to do that the first time too. And there, I did it again. I pulled too hard and it all came out, so now I'm starting again. And as you can see, those pages kept falling out, but I was determined to have them in the center. I made it work. And then go down one hole from the center down to the fourth hole from the outside in. And then the fifth hole, which is the bottom hole, from the inside out. And then back up to the fourth hole from the outside in. And then making sure it's nice and snug. And then this is the part where you skip the middle hole, the third hole, and jump up to the second hole from the inside out. Now I'm going to move up from the second hole to the top hole, the first hole, from the outside in. And then down from the inside out through the second hole. And then in the third hole, the center, from the back to the inner part, and making sure that it goes on the opposite side of the thread, so that one end of the thread is on one side and one is on the other, and so it'll tie in the center string. And this is where I started second guessing. I thought that I had the fabric upside down, but I was going through my pages making sure that I had everything facing up the correct way, that all the top of the pages were up and all the bottom of the pages were down. And then start tying the knots. You can just do 2 crisscrosses, that's fine, but on this one I end up doing 3. And here I'm snugging, making sure it's nice and snug, not too tight, not too loose. So I do my first crisscross and it broke on me. I couldn't believe it. I've never had that happen before. And it broke right where the knot is. And so it was actually quite tight. It was still all in place and everything. I couldn't believe it. So I had more than enough thread still hanging out. So I scraped, kept like, rubbing it, trying to get the knot out. And luckily the knot did come out. And I just kept pulling and moving the thread down so I can stitch the end that broke through the center again. And that's another reason why it's good to have extra thread, hanging out just in case if this happens. But a lot of time people does that so they can do like dangles and stuff. But yeah, in case it breaks on you, you still have enough thread to go through and fix it. I still can't believe it did that because being that strong of thread, I've never had that happen. So there must have been a weak spot in it. But I'm just cutting off the end, to make it even so it's easy to make it, get it through the needle and piercing it through the center and the out part to the inside and making sure it's on the opposite side of the thread as the other end is. So the one end is on the left and one end is on the right side of the thread in the center. So I can tie it together. And again, making sure everything's nice and snug. And doing a crisscross one way and then crisscross the other way. And the third one for good measures. Oh, and there's my little one. Alright, now you can see everything sewn in just right, finally. And this is the part where I should have cut off the extra fabric on the top and the bottom, and I forgot, which you will see further on. But removing the end pages to see how it's going to look and make sure everything's going to line up just right. And you can see that's where the center of the book's going to be. You can kind of see some of the flowers from the pillow fabric in the center. That's why I didn't necessarily matter because you're not going to see much of it, but I still liked it and thought it would go well with it because of being the flowers. Alright, and now I'm getting my Fabri-Tac glue out again, and I'm trying to get that air bubble up out of the way so I can get some glue out. It always takes forever. That's why normally I always have it upside down to keep the air on the bottom of the bottle so the glue comes out easier. And again, I think that's where my camera cut off on me again, but you didn't miss anything. All I did was glue that down. I cut off the excess fabric. I cut off the extra fabric from the top and the bottom. As you can see, this was part that was hanging off because I don't want that to be showing. The only part where that fabric will be showing is like right where it's the pages are sewn in. The rest of it will be covered. And so I'm getting the glue out again and just kind of working my way down, starting from the center out, making sure that that part's going to glue really well so it won't go anywhere because it's going to be a hidden spine. And pressing it down really good. And I made sure that there's enough fabric on both sides, the left and right side, so that it'll stick well and it won't like slide out or anything, and all the pages will stay in really good. And just pressing it down, making sure it's sticking well. And I think I made it like probably about 2 inches. And so this is what it's going to look like when I have the cover on it. The inner pages, I mean. And see, that's what I mean, like not that much is going to be shown. but I still left enough so that I knew that it was going to stick well and it was well adhered. Like, you don't want just a tad bit or else it might come out. So that's why I made sure there was plenty of fabric on both ends, so enough room, you know, enough to keep glued down and know that it's not going to slide out through time. And last for many, many years to come. And now it's time to do the other end. And this time I just took a pencil and very carefully, you know, drew where the fabric was going to end so I knew how far to add glue. So I had a bunch of glue on my fingers I was trying to get off. But again, I started from the center and worked my way out. I really made sure that the center part, where the spine is, stuck really well. And then just pressing it down, making sure it's all lined up and there weren't any bubbles in it or any folds, making sure it all lays out flat, nice and smooth. And then I just kept pulling out like loose threads that were hanging out. Alright, so everything's glued in, making sure all the pages are lined up just right, they're not popping out. And then you can see there's more than enough room to expand. I didn't put too many pages in. And next is time to glue the inner covers in. The inner pages in, or the pages for the inner cover part of the cover. I saw that there was a little piece of fabric that was going to stick out, so I was just trimming that out so it won't stick out. And this time I used my art glitter glue instead of Fabri-Tac. You could use either or, it does not matter. I just like using this for the paper, it sticks really well. And just adding glue, a little bit of glue all over the place so it all sticks well. I didn't want any air bubbles or anything, but you don't want too big of globs on it or else, because being paper, you know, it's water-based, has water in the glue. You don't want it to be bumpy. So that's why I have the fine tip on it. So only a, you know, thin amount of glue goes on. So it all goes on flat and even. Again, trying to get glue off my fingers because I didn't want to smear it all over the paper. But again, just pressing everything down, making sure all the edges are stuck really well. Make sure no glue is oozing out and no fabric is sticking out. I think there was some glue coming out there I was trying to get off. And now it's time to do the one in the back. And again, making sure that I'm putting it on the correct way, facing up, and getting close to the edge as I can to make sure that all the edges will stick. And then all over the center of the page. and then lining up just right. It does give you some time if you to move it and before it dries up on you, but being that thin, you really want to hurry up and press it really good before it dries. And then I had some thread sticking out that I clipped off. But yeah, look how good it is. Just making sure all the pages were looking good, the front looked good, the back looked good. Now here's just a little flip through what it'll pages look like. See, there's the map. I think that was the grid paper. And then there's the page from the Better Homes and Garden. See, there's the carrots. They got radish and cabbage, cucumbers, some note paper, some printer paper, line paper with the green lines. I really like the tracing paper over the pictures, the illustration from the book, the original pictures. There's some more printing paper that's dyed. And then those were the pages from the encyclopedia on planting, and it was about a garden wall, which I thought went well with the story because you know how they had that wall over the garden that Peter Rabbit tries to get through to get the vegetables. See, there it is. There's the garden wall. So that's why I thought that page would go well with it. And then here's the second signature. That was from the atlas. More grid paper. Another sheet from the Better Homes and Garden book on the vegetables section. Tracing paper. I really like the tracing paper over the pictures because it like tones it down. And then this was Garden Shelter, was the second page that I got out of the Planting Encyclopedia book. I really like the pictures on it, and the rabbits need shelter, so I thought that worked with the story. Here's the other original page from the book. See, there's some cabbage, some beans. And then the last page. See, it's very simple and easy, nothing fancy. It was so nice and easy. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, get a thumbs up and stay tuned for part 2.